So slope of a line is rise over run. This is actually when you compare two numbers like this, what do we learn? What do we call this? When you have like some 2 to 3 or 5 to 7, yeah. Ratio. This is a ratio. So slope is a ratio. Very good. So slope is a ratio of rise over run. Okay. Now, so that's great. So here's a line. Okay. What is the slope of this line then? How do you figure it out? Okay, a lot of you see it. Okay. Elena, how do you know? How would I figure out the slope of this line? Okay. Now, how do you actually find the rise over run over line? Because doesn't line go forever? Yes. So how do you know? Doesn't it rise forever and run forever? Because line goes on forever. So what do you have to do to find the slope of a line? Because you can obviously find. Hasten, you know what I'm trying to say? Because doesn't the line go forever? How do you find the ratio of rise over run? What do you have to do first? Yes, sir.
Find the rise and find the run. Like the.
Right, but do you see what I'm trying to say? Like, how do you then find the rise and run of this if you don't know, like, how to? So, for example, if I have this, okay. How do you know the rise or run of this? I mean, doesn't the line go forever? I mean, doesn't the line go up, rise forever, and then doesn't it run forever? I mean, because line, it doesn't stop. How do you find the slope? Yes, how about Blake?
You have to have 2 points.
Say it again.
You
You must choose
2 points.
2 points. Now, which 2 points should I choose? How about this one right here? Do you think that's a good idea to choose this one? Right here.
No.
No, why not? Why is that not a good choice to choose? For John? It's not a nice point because you don't know what it is exactly. Can somebody give me then 2 points to choose? Yes, sir. Nick?
1 and 5.
1 and 5. I like that one because it's right where the two grids meet, right? So I know what the order pair is. Here's one, and then what else?
-4 and -5.
-4 and you could do that one. Is that the only one? What's the easiest one though? Because that's really far away. Raise your hand. How about Cammy? 0 and 3. Isn't this one really close to it?
Yes.
So we just said the slope is rise over run. It's a ratio of rise over run. So then how do you figure? So I choose point. Let me call this point A and point B. So how do I go from point A to B? So what do you think my slope is? Raise your hand if you think you know. So in other words, how much do I have to go up to go from A to B? Raise your hand. Yes, how about Samantha?
You go up 1, 2, and right.
Yeah, you go up 2, so guess what? Do you think that's positive 2 or negative 2?
Positive 2.
That's right. So I go up 2, that's positive 2 over
1.
positive 1 or negative 1?
Positive.
That's right. So guess what my slope of this line is? That's right. 2 is really, as a ratio, 2 over 1, right? But usually, how do we write 2 over 1? As 2, exactly. So this is going from A to B, right? But can I not go to B to A? Why do I have to go from A to B? Why can't I go from B to A?
Can, but it just makes it more difficult.
No, it doesn't. Let's do it with B to A. If I want to go from B to A, ratio. Hold on. So slope again, we said was rise over run, right? So what's my rise to go from B to A? Raise your hand, Mylan.
2.
2 up or down?
Down.
Down. So Julia, if I go down, do you think it's going to be positive 2 or negative 2? Negative 2 is correct. What if I go to the left 2? Do you think it's going to be positive 1 or negative 1? Negative 1. Yeah, so what do I write here?
Negative 1.
No, negative 2 over. It's rise over 1, right? So Dia, what's my slope? If I go from B to A? It's what?
2.
It's 2 again. So does it matter if I count from A to B or B to A?
No.
Slope is
2.
2. It does not change. Right? What if I choose not these AB, but could I choose any other points? Because it says I could choose any points, right?
Yes.
So what if I choose -1, 1, and I don't know, something over here. This is a nice one. Let's call these C and D. Do you think if I choose C and D, do you think my slope will be different?
No.
No, because slope of a line is always
2.
it's same. It's always same. Why? Why would the slope of the line always be same? Let's do it anyway. Let's go from C to D. Let's go from C to D. To go from C to D now. My slope. So to go to from, I have to go down how much? 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I go down 4, what is that, guys? Negative 4. So I get negative 4 over. What if I have to go to the left 2? Negative 2. Class, what's negative 4 over negative 2?
2.
So it doesn't matter which 2 points you choose of the same line, your slope is always constant. Why? Why is it always constant? Elena? Because it's linear, sure. What does that mean? Yes. Yes. Okay.
Okay, teachers.
Explaining this thing. So, guys, how many people understand then? Watch this. No matter which 2 points you choose of this line, your slope is always going to be same. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, why is it always the same? That's my question. Why is it the same this time here? Go ahead, Virginia. Why do you think I have the slope? Why is the slope always same? I mean, Gevorg.
Because it's all like whenever because it goes down like it's measured. It's like what do you mean the slope?
Why is the slope of this line always 2? No matter which 2 points you choose. Yes, sir.
Because if you go up and to the right, it's going to be positive, and if you go down to the left, it's going to be negative. When you divide both of them, it's going to be positive again.
Yeah. Mina, did you want to say something?
Because the line is like linear, it's straight.
The line is straight. It doesn't curve at all. So the ratio of how much it goes up and how much it goes to the right, rise over run, is going to remain the same. You're exactly right. It's because the line is straight, right? Right? If it didn't have the same ratio, then the line will be crooked. But since line is straight, the ratio of going up and rise or run will always stay the same. Does that make sense? Now, this is great if I give you a line like this. But how would you find the slope of a line if I give it to you this way? This rise over run. So what if I give you a slope of a line if I give you 2 points? 2, 5 and 6, negative 2. How would you find the slope this way? Do you think you're gonna have to graph it and then find the slope? No, that's going to take too long.
Yes.
But there's a way to find this. Yes.
Wait, so you get the y2 and y1.
Okay.
And then you put that over x2, x1, and you subtract, and then you put that to the right.
Okay, that's the right. Okay, good. In other words, what does rise over run mean? It's difference in what? Change in what? When you have rise, change in which coordinate are we talking about? Owen?
When it's going up?
Yeah, when going up and down, which coordinate tells you where it's going up and goes up and down? Yes. Y. So change in y coordinate over, guess what? Change in, what about run? Change in x coordinate is correct. So how do you actually figure out the change in x and y coordinate? Well, I'm going to show you a formula. Have you guys learned the formula yet? No. Yesterday? Okay. So let's call this x sub 1, y sub 1. Let's call this x sub 2, y sub 2. So because the reason why I'm writing x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2 is because I'm indicating that this first point, right, is from x coordinate of the first point. This 6 is the x coordinate of the second point. 5 is the y coordinate of the first. Negative 2 is the y coordinate of the second point. So all you have to do is, there's a formula for this. How would you figure out the change in y coordinate? Yes, sir?
y2 minus 12.
Yes, right. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over?
x2 minus x.
That's right. X sub 2 minus x sub 1. Does that make sense? So that's your slope. By the way, They like to use this letter for slope. Does anybody know which letter that you like to use for slope? Yes.
M.
M is correct. YM, we'll talk about Y. I'm not so sure, but they decided.
Y equals mx
Y
plus b.
equals
That's right. That's when we do.
Mr. Byer taught us that last year. He's a poster in his.
There you go.
class.
So many times you guys are correct. Listen. Many times, guys, we like to use slope. The letter for slope is M. We use M a lot. Okay, so how would you then figure this out? If I give, this is example 1. If I ask you to find the slope of this point, because this gives you the change in y and this gives you change in x, when you use the formula, so I'm going to just write M. Is that okay? M is for slope. When you use the formula, what do I ask you to do? When you plug in, you should always use, when you plug in or evaluate, you should always use, thank you, I heard it. What? Parentheses. Why? Because you don't want to make silly mistakes, right? Now, who could tell me what to plug in here? What is my y sub 2? What's my y sub 2? Negative 2. What's y sub 1? 5. What's my x sub 2? What's x sub 1? Do you think the order is really important? So in other words, do you think I could switch these around? No, you don't want to do that, okay? If you're going to start with y sub 2, you have to start with? No, if you're going to start with y sub 2 for the first one to plug in, on the bottom you have to have x sub 2. You guys understand? Everybody go ahead and try, see what you get. Samantha, what did you get?
Negative 7 over 4.
How many people, raise your hand if you got negative 7 over 4? Very good. So what is, do you think it's a good idea to change it to addition, guys? Because I always get confused. Negative 2 plus what? Negative 5 over 6 plus negative 2. We get, Elena, what do I get on the numerator?
Negative 7. Oh, for that one?
Yeah, negative 7 over?
Negative 7 over 4.
Okay, there's your answer. That's your slope. So slope is a ratio of rise over run. Does that make sense?
So that means.
And that's the slope of this line. Yes?
So you mean it goes, it rises up -7 and then sideways 4?
Yeah, so what do you mean by it rises up negative 7? It goes down negative 7 and goes
Up or to
to the right
right.
4. Or, is that only case? You could actually think of this as, what is negative 7 over 4 same as? Isn't that same as 7 over negative 4? So you could think of it as, if you choose 2 points, it could be, you go up 7 and but to the left 4. You get the same place, right? Let's do one more. Why don't you try example 2. Go ahead and find the slope. And then I'm not going to give you a graph again. I'm going to give you 2 order pairs. How about you find me a slope of 2 comma 0 and I don't know. How about negative 4 comma 5 or something like that? Okay, go ahead. Everybody try. Now, do you think it's a good idea to memorize the slope or have it written down somewhere?
Yes.
Yeah, you have to memorize this, right? And then before the test, you should write it down. So who remembers? What is it? Y sub what? Yeah. Oh, but let's write it down. Y sub, what's slope? Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over. And down. Now, do you think it's a good idea to label these guys underneath?
Yes.
What should I call this? X sub 1. Guys, labeling this is going to be really important. And this is going to be y sub? No, y sub 1. These are from first point. This is x sub 2, y sub. Okay, please label these. If you don't want to get this wrong, please label. And then go ahead and fill it in. M is equal to something minus something over. Do you think it's important to use the parentheses?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Everybody try.
Okay.
So quickly, what goes in here, class? What's y sub?
5.
Good. Do you think it's a good idea to really check these? Because is it easy to make silly mistakes if you don't plug in the right one? Here, what do we put? 0. Not 2, 0. What do we plug in here? Negative 4. What do we plug in here? 2. That's right.
Wait, how do you get 0?
Because this is my y sub 1. Look at my y sub 1.
0.
Yeah. So what is that? What's 5? Well, let me write it down here. 5 plus, well, negative 0 is 0, right? I could just write negative 0. I could just write 5, right? What's 5 minus 0, guys? 5. And what about negative 4?
2.
Plus what? Negative 2. So be careful. That's why you got to make it into addition. 5 over negative 6. So this is, what's your slope for this one? Negative 5 over 6.
Can it be negative?
Yeah, it could be negative 5 over, this is the same thing, negative 5 over 6, right? Or 5 over negative 6, or negative of the whole thing 5, 6. They all mean the same thing, don't you? Do you understand?
Yeah.
But normally we write it this way, don't we? Any question? Yes.
Why is slope minus? Why is slope?
Sometimes, oh no, it's not always minus. Sometimes it's minus, sometimes it's positive. Yeah, it doesn't. It depends on how it is. Good.